Um, gosh, people still coming in. Amazing. Let's get everybody in. Let's get everyone in. So while we're waiting for everyone to come in so that I give you the right information, let me know whereabouts in the world you're dialing in from. Pop in the chat, whereabouts in the world are you dialing in from? Let's see what we got. York, Massachusetts, Chester, Leeds, Costa Rica, Somerset, Surrey, UK, Devon, Wiltshire, Northern Ireland, Bristol, Edinburgh, Wiltshire, Belgium, Southampton, Newcastle, Stirling, Scotland, Winchester, North Yorks, UK, Dublin, amazing, Saudi Arabia, Wales, fantastic, Birmingham. Okay, so lots of different Illinois, Newcastle, England, London, phenomenal. Right, okay, so we've got a really lovely representation from around the UK and from around the world as well. So let's get everyone else in. Admit all. So we're needing an assistant, really, isn't it? Maybe I should get a volunteer for tomorrow. Right, admit, admit, admit. Okay, let's get everyone in. So it's going to be a bit of a whistle-stop tour for the next 3 days. And as I'm letting everyone in, I want to kind of share a little bit about why I put this together. And my grads that are on here, my current students that are on here have heard this before. So delighted that you're here, but clearly this is stuff you already know, so it'll be a reminder more than anything else. Basically, when I left my job in my early 40s, thinking I had early onset dementia, I was absolutely flabbergasted when I discovered that it was just menopause. And I say just menopause very lightly because I genuinely thought I had early onset dementia. I thought that I was going to have to rock in the corner and be looked after by someone else while someone else brought up my son, who was at the time very small. So when my doctor said to me, it's just been menopause, probably you went through menopause when you had your son at 37. It was a very traumatic time in my life. It was a very traumatic birth, and a lot of very significant events had happened at that time in my life, which potentially, who knows, put me into this premature menopause. So I was relieved. I was like literally the happiest menopausal woman in the UK. And that set me up to kind of really ask the questions that how could somebody with my background and my knowledge, which is really deep on anatomy and physiology, psychology, in terms of personal training, sports therapy, nutrition, despite the fact I was working in a senior executive role in financial services, I have got like a very much a portfolio career and I've worked in lots of different areas and I've got real multitude of qualifications under my belt. So that set me out on a bit of a journey to start to think about what can we do to stop people going through what I went through, and what can we do to stop people leaving work because no one's talking about menopause and because no one is getting the right help and support in the workplace. And the reality is there's so much happening in our bodies when we're going through menopause that we're just not aware of what is happening. We don't know what the individual hormones are. We don't know the roles they're playing in our body, and we don't really know what to do to help ourselves. And in the majority of Western societies, we're very accustomed to, we don't feel well, we pick up the phone, we go and see our doctor, we expect to get a prescription and get fixed. And very rarely are we actually diving deeper into what is going on with us, what is happening in our bodies, and what can we do about it. And the reality is that when we're going through menopause, these changes in our hormone levels are having an impact on all our body systems. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone impact our brain health, our heart health, our bone health, our blood, our immune system, our digestive system, our urogenitory system. All of our body systems are impacted by the changes that we experience when we go through menopause. So if we don't know that and we're not being brought up typically understanding more than periods stop, we become menopausal, you can no longer have babies, and you might have the occasional hot flush, mood swing, and that's it. Then how on earth are we supposed to advocate for ourselves? How are we supposed to understand what we do to help ourselves to successfully navigate menopause? Does that make sense? Yeah. So I'm not going to go through all the basics on menopause today because I'm going to make the assumption, correctly or incorrectly, that you have a really sound understanding of what menopause is, how it can impact us, what the symptoms are, how long it goes on for, and you know, what sort of ages it happens, and also the fact that there are multiple variations culturally around the world. Now, I will cover some of that as we go through this to make sense of what I say, but predominantly I'm going to be assuming that you're here because you want to help other people through menopause. Would that be fair? Yeah. Okay, fantastic. What I don't want to do is spend time going over what I do in my other course, which is Menopause the Basics, which is what I run at 12:30 today. So still people joining us. Right, okay, so let me get my slide deck up to keep me on track, because otherwise I can go off track, as my students will tell you. Can't find SlideShare. Oh gosh, we're having one of those days with Zoom today. Make sure it's the right slide deck. Yes, there we go. Right, okay, so hopefully this will work. Come on. Okay. So for those of you that are not familiar with me or with Women of a Certain Stage, my name's Lauren Sheeran. I'm CEO and founder of Women of a Certain Stage. And I set this up 10 years ago, as I said, when I left my job as a senior exec in financial services, thinking I had early onset dementia, because I was really, really stunned that I didn't know what menopause was. And I really genuinely have a very, very deep background in anatomy and physiology and many, many related topics. So for me not to know what was going on, it just seemed really bizarre that I could have such a lack of knowledge for something that every single person that's born with a womb is going to go through. So what we do is we work with large organizations across the world to help them become menopause savvy, menopause supportive, and we train people to become menopause coaches, menopause champions, and menopause mentors. Now, as I said, there are some of our grads on here today, so they may be able to answer some questions if you've got any. But one of the key things is to recognize that menopause is having a massive impact on us globally. And we have had all these studies and CIPD and Bupa saying there's something like 1 million women leaving work in the UK, or have left work in the UK, as a result of lack of support during menopause. Now, I haven't seen the modelling that underpins that particular study. There has been some questioning around the validity of the actual number of 1 million. But what I can say is that I speak to people every single day who have left work through lack of support through menopause. And there will be other things going on in their life as well. It's not usually just because of menopause. There's often a number of things that are going on. But we believe that there's somewhere in the region of 14 million days lost to the workplace in the UK, and you can extrapolate that for around the world as well. Somewhere between 10 and 12 billion pounds lost to the UK economy. So again, that's a lot of money and it's a lot of time lost. So what could we do? What impact might we be able to have if we could actually help each other to successfully navigate menopause? If you could help your clients, your colleagues, your patients, whoever it is that you're supporting through menopause, we could have such a massive impact on each other in such a positive way. Now, for me, one of the reasons I am really passionate about training people to go out and help others through menopause is because there's one of me, and by 2030 there'll be something like 1.1 1.2 billion people in menopause. In With the best will in the world, I'm never going to reach anybody, so I want to help you to help other people get out there. So I will use every platform. As you can see here, these are some of the publications I've been in the last 3 or 4 months. Actually we're in June, so last 5 months. And I will use every opportunity to get on stage, speak out in the media, and get online and speak to you to share what I know, to try and help you help others. And for me, it's about raising awareness and helping people understand there is no one size fits all when it comes to menopause. Now, from a perspective of helping others, you know, most of the large corporates I work with, they have a commitment to somewhere in the region of 35 to 50% of women in their senior leadership roles by 2025. They've got a really strong commitment to inclusion and diversity, support people of all backgrounds through all levels in their business. And they are also committed to their colleagues' well-being as they, you know, are progressing through the organization. Now, if you can support people that are perimenopausal and menopausal, then you are basically helping them hit all of these. So, you know, in terms of building a business case and understanding why we need people who are genuinely menopause savvy and menopause supportive and educated to help others through this, then these are some of the kind of business case facts that I will share with people to help them position themselves to help others going forward. So, you know, I said I'm not going to go into all the kind of basics of this, but in terms of the menopause, the basics, we're going to kind of the nitty-gritty of what is menopause and what is perimenopause. Um, I want you to think more deeply about the actual physical, emotional and social challenges that we experience when we're going through menopause. And if you think about somebody who wakes up in the morning and they've maybe got a partner and a couple of kids. They've not slept well, sleep being one of the top impacts of menopause. They've not slept well, they're feeling pretty groggy and pretty yucky when they get up in the morning, but they get themselves up and showered and changed. They help everyone get ready and away for their day. Their partner goes off to work, and then they're left taking the kids to school and getting themselves into the office or back to their desk at home. Now, obviously, depending what type of role, they might be a frontline worker, they might be working in retail, they might working in medicine, they might be a driver. There's so many different roles that someone could be doing, but they've got all these things to consider and to do before they even get to the starting line of their day. And just as they're about to start work, they have a massive hot flush, the hair's sticking to the side of their head, their clothes are sticking underneath their arms, and makeup's running off their face if they're wearing makeup, and they feel really, really groggy. So what does someone do? Do they just kind of grin and bear it and get to work so they're there in time and they're feeling a bit out of sorts, they don't feel comfortable in their own skin, but they're there? Or do they freshen up and do they think about wanting to go and have a quick wash, reapply their face or change their top, whatever it is that they want to do? Maybe they've had a flood. Maybe they've had a bladder leakage. What does someone do? Do they just carry on so that they're at work in time? Or do they take 5 to go and get changed? Or maybe they've got to divert 20 minutes back to the house to change before they start work. So it's all very well talking about hot flushes and night sweats and all of that, but what is the practical issue that is occurring when someone's experiencing this? And this is what I want you to start thinking about, because when someone's going through these physical issues, whilst these are pretty tricky to manage in some circumstances, usually the people that I find will be reaching out for help and support are the people that are dealing with the emotional and psychological impacts, the people who literally are struggling to hold it together. Their anxiety levels are creeping up. And is it any wonder? If you think about it in context, if someone is having hot sweats, if they aren't sleeping well, if they are in a stressful job and they've got other people to look after, is it any wonder that they're finding it tough to manage their life on a day-to-day basis? Is it any wonder that they're getting anxious around deadlines or that they are beginning to feel like they're not adding any value anymore or worried about making mistakes? Very often when I'm coaching people through menopause, what I find is that anyone else they speak to thinks their performance is just their normal performance. And a lot of what's going on is in their mind. It's about what they're worrying about going wrong as opposed to anything having gone wrong. So we can have this incredible self-doubt, incredible lack of self-esteem and self-confidence. And then that obviously is just compounding and increasing the impact and stress levels. And for those of you that study with me or go on to study with me, you'll know that that then means that we have to learn how to manage our stress. We need to understand the role of cortisol in our body, the impact of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and how that affects our cortisol levels. We have to be aware that we need to start putting ourselves first. Socially, there's still a stigma around menopause. Despite me working in this space for 10 years right across the world, there is still a stigma, and we are working hard, and collectively we're stronger to change that. And that's why I spend so much time speaking out about it. And I really invite you to do the same. So we want to share the facts to bust the myths. We want to demonstrate the fact that menopausal women are packed with skills, knowledge, and experience, and completely capable and able to go out into the world and make a significant impact. It's a time in our life when we are able to step into our personal power, boost our vitality, and absolutely use our voice in a way that we've never done before. But socially, we're retreating. Socially, we're not going out, we're not connecting. So we end up believing the stories we're telling ourselves about our anxiety and our low moods and withdrawing, and then we're not having that social interaction with other people to help challenge our thoughts. So we start believing the stories we're telling ourselves. We start believing that we're not adding the value, we're not capable anymore. And sometimes all we need is that mentor or champion or coach or just a good friend who is willing to listen and support and not judge. So these are the types of things that I want to talk about today. And, when we think about menopause and where it is, the other thing that I think it's important, and this is, for me, it's a bit comedic. If you've ever heard Mariella Frostrup talk, she does a whole history of menopause, which, it's shocking. It's hysterical and it's shocking, but hysterical in not such a great way. But, if we go back through the ages and we look at ancient Greece, menopause was viewed as a natural decline in women's health. And the father of medicine, Hippocrates, recognized menopause, but considered it a disease and considered the lack of menstruation, a lack of youth and vitality. And actually, that's the complete antithesis to any postmenopausal women I know. Anyone I know that's postmenopausal doesn't give a monkeys anymore and is out there strutting their stuff and doing their thing. So there's definitely no loss of youth and loss of vitality either. In traditional Chinese medicine, menopause was seen as a transition in the balance of yin and yang energies. And in ancient Chinese texts, menopause is described as a natural decline in yin energy, which could be balanced with herbal remedies and acupuncture to ease the symptoms and restore harmony. And then if we go through the medieval periods, we look at the links to witchcraft. And at that point, menopause was shrouded in superstition. And people might be considered witches. And we all know what happened to witches back in the Middle Age, in the medieval period. So menopause is often seen as a punishment or a curse. It's seen as a very, very negative viewpoint and links with sort of many religious and supernatural beliefs as well. So it's obviously been incredibly poorly understood, incredibly poorly supported. And even when we think back through the 19th century, we look back to Dr. Edward Tilt and we look at The Change of Life and Health and Disease. His book describes menopause as a period of sexual insanity. I mean, really, and recommended treatments like bloodletting and opiates and even dreadful things like removal of the clitoris surgically. I mean, this is the 19th century, so not all that long ago. So, many treatments have come up and we are having a better understanding. We are seeing a move in the right direction. But if we even think to 2002 when we had the Women's Health when we had the WHI study back in 2002, and then the links between the HRT, the hormone replacement therapy that was being used at that time with breast cancer and cardiovascular disease and stroke, and then the study was stopped, and all of a sudden many doctors stopped prescribing HRT. There's a massive fear factor to using that as well. And all the research seemed to go on hold and be shelved for the last couple of decades, and it's just beginning to pick back up again. But what we are seeing when you look at the majority of the research, it tends to be what I call WWW, the wealthy white women, the I'm talking far too much today. Upper socioeconomic Caucasian women tend to be those that are studied. Now you can look up the SWAN study, SWAN study, for more information to look more broadly, but there is so much that is still misunderstood about menopause and so much that's misunderstood about the treatment pathways. Thankfully, there are more treatments coming down the line. Thankfully, there are more people speaking out. Thankfully, you're here. And if you've heard me talk before, you will know that I am really grateful to you for giving your time to be here today to think about this as a topic and to think about what role can you play to help other people going forward. So, when we think about breaking the silence and bringing people together, one of the key things I always say to people that it doesn't cost you other than your time is to create a social network, to help call people together, to create a walking event, a book club, get together, a social menopause social, where you can attract other people going through the same stage of life and just talk about what's working, talk about what your experience is, understand what is going on for each other. You know, whether you're here because you're here for personal reasons, or you're here to support clients, or whether you're here to support people in the workplace, then I just invite you to think about, what can you do? What can you put on? What can you create to bring people together so that we can create more safe spaces for people to realize they're not alone? And I'm just curious, is this something you already do? Yep. So we've got a Let's Talk Menopause group at work. I'm just about to start a menopause cafe locally, menopause community, fantastic. So I have the Menopause Social Hangout, and you're welcome to join the Menopause Social Hangout if you're not already in there. So we've got menopause fan clubs, love that. A menopause Facebook page too, great. So, you know, I think it's really important that we have these outlets for people to realize they're not alone. And even if every single one of us, you know, I don't know how many are on the call today, say 138 people, let's say 138 of us all set up a group. If there's over 1 billion people going through menopause, we're not in competition with each other, because you're each going to attract someone different to your group. You're each going to appeal to different people at different times of life, at different parts of the world, with different personalities. So for me, it's really important that we are really mindful that we're not in competition with each other, and that it is really important that we are out there and we are doing our bit to attract people as well. So thinking about research, these are some studies that you can look up. But when we think about the average age of menopause in the UK is 51, somewhere between 45 and 55 is when we're going to go through menopause. We know that there are multiple symptoms. In fact, pop in the chat. What are the symptoms that you're most familiar with? Pop in the chat what the symptoms you're most familiar with are. Brain fog, dry skin, brain mush, lack of concentration, flooding, tiredness, anxiety, mood swings, insomnia, tinnitus, brain fog, itchy skin, yeah, migraine. Gosh, they're going so fast I can't even read them. Yeah, lost words, dry mouth, dry eyes, sleep disturbance, point pain, joint pain. Yeah, fantastic. Not fantastic, but thank you for sharing. Tinnitus potentially can be associated with menopause. Vaginal atrophy, loose teeth, gum problems, all of the above. Yes, absolutely. Dry down below. Vaginal dryness, vaginal atrophy. And we don't talk about menopause enough, but we're not talking about urinary incontinence. We're not talking about urge incontinence or other challenges that we have that potentially could be quite easily remediated if we can speak to our doctor and ask about treatment pathways as well. So there's many, many things that we can do to help ourselves and to help others going through menopause. So let me know in the chat, please. Are you here because you're looking to help support yourself, or are you here to support others, or both? Self, others, or both? Both. Both others, both others, both others, both others. Okay, support work. Yep, fantastic. Okay, right, that really helps me as well. Okay, so majority of people for both um, signed up for my course next week. Fantastic. My partner who's doing your course, fantastic. I train, fantastic, excellent. Both, excellent. Okay, and just give me a yes or no. Have you been in my Menopause the Basics course? A mixture. Okay, right, a real mixture. Fantastic. That's completely fine. Nope, but I had training. Yeah, I have trained in Volvo. Yeah, okay, fantastic. Great. Okay, so when we start looking at research findings, we know that, like I said, you know, there's multiple studies out there, and you've got to be really careful about what studies you follow as well. So check the modeling that's used, check who ran the study, check how the information was extrapolated out of it, because there's so much conflict out there that you have to make sure your sources are accurate and they've been well researched. And I think it's been interesting just reading some of the challenges that have come around from other parts of the world and some of the UK statistics over the last month or so. So that has made me dive deeper into some of them. And, really check how these studies have been conducted, how they were run, who paid for them. That's always a big indicator as well, as we know. So again, today and tomorrow and Wednesday is really, I want you to think about how you position yourself, where you're getting your information from, what you believe, and how you are sharing that with other people. Does that make sense? Can I just get a quick yes or no? Yeah. Okay, so there's tons of reports out there. There's lots of really good information out there, but you are going to work with people who are going to say, but I read this, or I was told that. And you're going to have one person that says, my doctor said I can have this medication, and another person said, I can't have this medication. And we're not, okay, I do work with medical profession and I have medics that come and deliver my courses. I am not medic and I'm not here to give medical advice. I'm here to signpost you and let you know how to get the best medical advice and support for yourself, for your clients, and for your colleagues. And that's what's really, really important as well. So being asked, how would you verify whether a source is reliable? Well, I would first of all find out, who's conducted it, when it was done, how many people were involved, and, have a look and see if you can find out who funded it and if there's any angle on it from that point of view. And I think it's just, as you go through the research and as you start reading more and more studies, you will start to get a feel for that. So it's a really good question. I'm happy to elaborate on that maybe a bit more tomorrow. So one of the other things I also recommend is you join or you follow or you check out something like the International Menopause Society, North American Menopause Society, British Menopause Society. Again, there are multiple menopause societies around the world. And if you want to dive deeper, go and look at IMPART, which is the IMS, the International Menopause Society course. That's a really good course to do. And have a look at what's available through the IMS. We'll have a list of your countries' menopause society as well. So again, be familiar with what the country of the people you're serving, be familiar with what the local guidelines are, be familiar with what is being advised in that country, in that locale as well. That's really important to do too. We know that despite a massive push on menopause through the government and even like I sit on the British Standards Institute committee, we created last year a landmark standard for menstruation, menstrual health and menopause, which we've just won an award for. And over 80 countries have downloaded that, or that's been downloaded in over 80 countries around the world. And now I'm sitting on the International Standardization Committee organization to create the global standard. So we know that the right messaging is beginning to get through to organizations, and we know that more and more companies are doing the right thing at work. But there's a very big difference between doing a one-off lunch and learn and making real cultural change. So I want to just kind of say kudos to any company that does anything on menopause whatsoever. And clearly, yes, this is what I do. I work with organizations to help them become menstruation to menopause savvy and supportive. So if you are working with organizations, encourage them to do more than a general awareness session and more than a line management training session, to really think about where menopause sits in the well-being space, in the DE&I space, in the HR, the people space. And how do you make sure that through the entire colleague journey that menopause is something that is being fully supported as well. Let me just do a quick time check. So it's important that you have a really comprehensive understanding of menopause. It's important that you understand where your information is coming from. It's important that you're up to date and aware of what is going on in the locale that you're working in. So when I'm working with a large global, then we will look at each region. We will look at each part of the world that they are in. We will look at what messaging they've already got. We'll look at how we take that from the get-go and opening the doors in the conversation of menopause to becoming truly menopause savvy and supportive. It doesn't happen with a lunch and learn. It doesn't happen overnight. Now, I have an advantage because my background is global transformation. So when it comes to the change cycle, that's what I did for years in financial services, and landing change is a skill set. So again, learn about the change cycle, learn about the different stages of the change cycle, understand that, we have to have deeper conversations with organizations. And it's not a case of I've got a policy, I did a session and everyone's now a champion and the job's done. It is much more than that. And we need to think about how we go about that in more depth going forward. So We're bang on past, and I want to just take the next 10 minutes to have a bit of a chat. But when we talk about advocates, as I said, we train menopause champions. It's a half-day workshop. We train menopause mentors, which is a brand new course. It's a self-paced online course, which is launching this Friday. I think we've got a couple of spots left for the launch intake for the pilot. And then we train menopause coaches. So if any of my coaches are online just now and you want to say anything, I'll come to you in just a second. If you want to get in touch, the best way to get in touch with me is via email. If you phone me and I'm delivering something, I'll get back to you. There are my details there. And again, if you want to book a call, feel free just to take a picture of that. That should bring up my diary and give you an opportunity to book a call in with me. I'm open to having conversations about how we can work together, what I can do to help and support you going forward. Vicky, looking forward to starting with the Menopause Mentor course with you too. And you know, I want to help you to make sure you're helping people in the best way possible. What I want to do primarily is to put a stop to people going out to help other people with the best intention in the world, but using their own personal experience of menopause to help other people. That's what I want to stop. It's a really good place for people to be coming from, and it's an amazing starting point. But it's also very dangerous. You need to have a much broader and wider view of menopause so that you can really truly help people going forward. And if you're positioning yourself as a workplace expert or as a coach or as a mentor or something else, be clear about what you're offering the world as well. Know where your handoff points are. I mean, if any of my coaches want to, I'll come to, I'll be suffering menopause at the moment. So, in terms of where was I going with that before I read the chat? Sorry. Oh, there's lots of people joining again. Okay, interesting. So yeah, I think for me, it's about this 3 days is about what are the things you need to do. So today it's about making sure your sources of information are accurate, having a network of people you can go to ask for help and support, knowing what role you're playing. It takes a village to get someone through menopause. You're not going to get fixed by any one person. A coach is not going to fix you. A doctor is not going to fix you. It's about having that collective group of people around you so that you can go to the right people for the right information at the right time. And I genuinely believe it takes a village for us to get through menopause successfully if we want to do it right and we've got that support network. So what I mean by that is if you're a champion, you're probably someone who's got a good basic knowledge of menopause. You can hold a conversation with somebody and signpost them to go and get help and support in the workplace. That would be an ally, a champion, an advocate. That's what I would call someone who's playing that role. Now, you might have a deeper knowledge because you've had personal interest and you've done further reading on it. A mentor for me is somebody who has got a deeper knowledge in menopause, really understands the hormones, the impact and the roles they play in all the body systems, has probably been through menopause themselves, aka mentor, because a mentor is usually someone that uses their own personal experience to help others with their experience because they've got that other experience. And they will be able to share their experiences, but with the knowledge of the other types and amazing ways that people can get support through menopause and really have those one-off conversations or maybe a stream of conversations over a period of time. A coach is typically someone in a very non-advisory position that is using very smart, clever coaching questions to be able to take someone on a journey to find their own way to create their own personal menopause plan. It's someone who will be be supporting someone in the background, having those conversations maybe on a weekly or fortnightly or monthly basis over a period of time, and really helping that individual figure out what the right course of action is for them. Whether they're looking at their nutrition or their movement or their medical support, whether they're looking at talking to their partner or their workplace, bringing all of that good stuff together over the course of time, little by little. And then we've got our doctors, we've got our homeopaths, we've got our therapists, we've got so many different ways that we can help people through menopause. So for me, it is just about getting real clarity on what are your skill sets? How do you love to help other people? Do you want to champion, advocate, and ally? Do you want to jump into the coaching space or the mentor space? Maybe you want to do a combination of all of them. I know I've got some people that have and done all of the above with me. Um, I have a background in anatomy and physiology. My degree's in psychology. I've got multiple qualifications in nutrition and coaching and mentoring. Um, and I've been working in human performance for over 35 years. But if any of my coaches are on here who want to share, I don't rely on my knowledge when it comes to teaching. I bring in experts. So I bring in experts to talk about the medical side, to talk about the nutrition side, talk about the personal training side, talk about the sexual side, the sexual health and pleasure side, to talk about pelvic health, because I don't believe any one person has got all the answers. It's far too broad a topic. And we have to know at what point do we need to hand off and recommend to our client or our colleague that they go and speak to someone else, because we are not going to have all the answers. Does that make sense? I'm slightly evangelical about this in case you haven't noticed. But I am really passionate that, all of you are here today, and I'm really, really grateful. So I'm just quickly having a quick look through the uh, safe space for menopause support alongside space for menopause allies. Yeah, absolutely. Familiar faces. Hi, Heather. Just to clarify, when you refer to menopause, you're in peri. Yes. So when I refer to menopause, I'm talking about everything from peri right the way through to post-menopause. So the menopause transition is everything from peri to post. And it's a bit of a mouthful to go peri to post-menopause every time. So I just say menopause. Um, Hi, Lenita. Welcome to the Menopause Champion next week or the week after. Next round of mentor. So you can join the mentor course anytime, but there's a group starting this week who are starting on Friday. So you can join at any time, but the group that's starting this week, taking particular feedback from, so that we can make any tweaks or changes to the course that we need to do. But it's all there, ready to go, ready to push the button. So anybody got any questions, or is there anything? I mean, I think I'm probably preaching to the choir a little bit today. But is there anything that you will take away from today to think about differently, do differently? What might you do differently as a result of just opening this conversation today? Feel free to come off mute if it's easier to do that.
Hi, Lauren, it's Jodie. Hello, I'll ask a question. So I work in the manufacturing industry. We've got probably 18% are female who work here, so it's quite low. What would you suggest in terms of social support networks in a mainly male orientated business?
Yeah, so it depends on your shift patterns. So are you working shifts?
There's a day shift and there's a night shift as well, yeah.
Yeah. And how are the break, so I guess my first port of call would be to go out to the population impacted and ask them. So I would go and say what would work well for you and just see what that might look like. So in terms of, I would definitely have a couple of menopause champions. I don't know in your numbers, but depending on the numbers, I would have a couple of menopause champions.
Yeah.
I would make sure that it's really well communicated to, and make sure everyone knows that they're there for those conversations. And then the champions can start to gather that information and find out what people really want and what sort of information they want to have access to as well. I would do a deep dive to understand what's available through your employee assistance program, your private medical, and I would make sure that you've got some fact sheets available so people know how to access them, what they'll get when they access them as well. Because one of the key things, often we spend a lot of money on benefits for our people, but we don't often signpost them well. Or the benefits people tell you that they cover menopause, but they don't really. So you need to get in and interrogate and see what's really there, and also have a crib sheet for people. Because if you think about someone in menopause who's probably got quite a high level of anxiety, is probably worried about their job if they're struggling, and you want to make all these things super accessible. So you want to make it as easy as possible for them to access whatever help and support there is. But to your point about the social, it all depend. I don't know your organization, so it depends how you're set up to know whether there's a break room opportunity that could be a 15-minute thing that's done once a month or a couple of times a month. So something, for example, I have a toolkit. This is something that we sell to our clients. So it's 12 bite-sized podcasts, and it comes with downloadable worksheets, and the podcasts are 8 to 12 minutes each. So what some of my clients do is they collectively listen to one each month, and then they have a chat about it. So each month it's a different topic, and it's all something that directly impacts someone going through menopause. So it's a great way of you having different topics that people can get educated about, support each other with, give each other different opinions, and they're really bite-sized, so they can be listened to in a break. But they would be without knowing more about your demographics, which is really important, and your culture, they would be my kind of immediate takeaways.
No,
Is that
thank
okay?
you. Some good suggestions. Thank you.
Any other questions? So what have we got in the chat? Would you have a list of most common myths about menopause and how we can clarify why they're false? I don't have that right here today. But again, I think it's something, depending what I can give you a list of myths and why they're false, but actually it depends what environment you're in, what the demographics are, who it is you're addressing will help you choose the key facts that are most important to address. So I think that with something like that, it's about, thinking about who you're working with and what information they're being presented with. I want to be more equipped for my life coaching services. I only want to focus on delivering natural solutions to my clients myself and refer them to relevant expert if that's not sufficient. What training would you recommend? I would actually recommend coach training if you want to, if it's coaching that you're doing, I would recommend the Become a Menopause Coach program. Menopause Matters have an article on Mythbusters. There we go. What do you think it would be the takeaway today? I'm sorry, what did I think the takeaway would be? I don't know. Everyone will have something different. Are we able to buy a toolkit? Yes. What ties are there to menopause and autism? So again, it's an area that is still being largely researched. So I would look up research on menopause and autism and have a read and see what your key takeaways, but there's definitely an awful lot of work still to be done in the autism space. Although I would say one of the core things that's come out of running the Become a Menopause Coach program, and I think I've got people from a few different cohorts here today, is that every single cohort we've had an increasing number of people who have said that they have been working with people who are on the autistic spectrum. The other thing that's been talked about a lot is ADHD and ADD and menopause. So there's a lot more emerging research in that space as well. A lot of people get to menopause and are diagnosed for the first time in their life and start to retrospectively make a lot of sense of why they didn't feel like they fitted in, or they always felt slightly different and had struggles and challenges with different aspects of their concentration or their ability to focus. So there's a lot of really interesting research that's coming out from that. Thanks for sharing that, Kate.
Mhm.
Nice to see you. Yeah, I think actually I think I've got an article in the Menopause Matters magazine on menopause and low mood. I think I've got an article in that as well. So, in terms of today's session, I really just wanted to kind of scene set and get you to start thinking about the types of things you should be thinking about from my point of view. If I have not told you anything new today, I'm actually really happy. Not because you wasted your time, but just because it means you've got it covered. And that in itself is great. So this is just about stimulating thinking, stimulating conversation, connecting with each other, and just thinking about what can we do collectively to really make a difference. So yes, Menopause Champion course is coming up on the 11th of June. The Menopause Mentor course, you can sign up anytime, but we've got the first run through of that starting on Friday. So there's a 50% discount on that at the moment. And what's the other one? I've missed one. Menopause Coach. Are there any of my coaches that want to talk about the coach program? Anyone that's been through it or most of the way through it? That'll be a no.
Hello.
Yep, who's that?
Hi. My name is Maria Garcia. I joined this because I'm struggling at the moment.
I hear you. I hear you. Have you got any support around you?
Um, I'm seeing my GP tomorrow. to discuss treatment options. Um,
Is there anything I can do to support you with that?
I don't know. Do you have any sort of like I just started CBT, but that's because of my tinnitus. But I heard that CBT for menopause is also something that's helpful.
Okay. Maria, perhaps we can take this conversation offline and I can give you a call
Yeah,
when we finish.
yeah,
Would that be okay?
yeah. Is that okay?
Let me do that.
I'm trying to send a message, but it's not letting me send a message because I was asking for any further resources or any support.
Okay. Let me send you a message when I finish this call and we can arrange
Yeah,
the conversation.
yeah.
Is that okay?
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Lauren?
Yep.
I don't mind speaking. It's Siobhan.
Oh, hi, Siobhan.
Hiya. Maria and any other ladies on here who are really struggling with symptoms in any whatever guise. I finished the menopause coach diploma in February. When I started it, I was really in a dark place. I was really struggling with all my symptoms. We went through the menopause plan as a group. I am now taking 7 ladies through the menopause plan. I started last week with these ladies, and I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't have been able to stand up in a room in front of people at the beginning of the course because I had no confidence. I was full of anxiety, and it was amazing last week because a couple of the ladies just actually burst into tears at the end of the session. I thought, oh dear, what have I done wrong here? But because I was really candid about what had happened with me, it made it more relatable, and they couldn't believe the steps that I'd taken in 6 months, that I was able to present the menopause plan and help them to overcome their symptoms. So if you've got any doubts about doing any of these courses, then just get rid of them and just sign up because it's changed my life.
Thank you. Sorry, this is.
And I just come on here on all of Lauren's things just to hear her voice again.
They tell you that. Sorry, I still get emotional even 10 years later. They tell you that work isn't work when it doesn't feel, like when you get up and you just can't wait to do what you do. My favorite 2 hours of the week are 2 to 4 on a Friday afternoon with my coaching clients. My coach with my coach student. I literally live to share information about menopause. I might not be the best presenter, I might not be the best teacher, but I am so passionate about making sure that I get the right people in front of you so that you can learn the best information to go and help other people. That is why I share all my knowledge. And I'm never going to be able to help all the people in the world going through menopause. I can only do that with you. I can only help you go out there and do that. And people say, why are you training people to be your competitors? I'm training you because I want you to find your niche. I want you to find your way of helping other people. But I want you to do it in a way where you're being really open about what it is you need to learn, what you need to know, and how you can keep your knowledge current as well. So my coaches, for example, when they finish the course, they have another 12 months of support, another 4 90-minute deep dive training sessions, and ongoing community, because it's like learning to drive a car or ride a bike. Just because you can drive the car and you've got your driving license, it doesn't mean to say you're a great driver. It just means that you've got permission to go and drive the car. And sometimes you'll come across a client that is a bit tricky, or you've come across a situation that you're not quite sure what to do. And I want to make sure that everyone that I train, whether it's a champion or mentor or coach, has that ongoing support. That's really, really important to me. And I love training my champions, though. I love training my mentors. I love doing my talks. I love doing my corporate training. But that getting people up and running and out there to do this, and the reason people leave the course, I believe, and don't take it from me, right? Go into my LinkedIn profile, connect with me on LinkedIn, go into my profile, read the recommendations and read people's own words, because it's always better to hear from someone else, not from me. But I think it's because everyone has to practice. Like my mentors are in for a shock when they start the course. So they're going to have to do a lot of work before they get certified. They're going to have to do a lot of case studies before they get certified, because it's not a £111 course that you can download and do in a morning and then call yourself an XYZ expert in menopause. You have to do the work. And with the coach program, you go through the program with me, you go through the program with each other, and you take 2 practice clients through the program. So you learn an off-the-shelf program. So you're ready the minute you graduate, you can go out and deliver that program because you've got all the scripts, all the handouts, and everything you need to go and work with these clients. And you've already thought about your positioning in the market, your pricing, your titling, who you want to work with, and done all that, because that's integral to the program. So I think all I would say is, and we're at time, I'm pretty sure we're right, 5 minutes past now. You know, I just want you to really think about who you are, what you've got to offer, how you're going to offer it, and be confident to say to people, I don't know. Don't try and have all the answers, because nobody has all the answers for it. We don't know all the answers yet. So if you are working to support somebody and they pose a question to you and you don't know, just say, I don't know, I'll find out. I'll introduce someone who might have the answer for you. I see too often people with the best will in the world blagging it, maybe getting it right 50% of the time, maybe getting it right, wrong 50% of the time. And I think that can be really, really dangerous as well. So I think it's important that you get confident in what you do know, let people know what you know, and be okay with saying, I don't know, and I'll find out. That's a sign of confidence. That's a sign of maturity, and that's a sign of professionalism as well. And we can always bring other people in. Let me have a quick, how much is the coaching course? The coaching course is £3,500 plus VAT. It's an 18-week diploma delivered live with multiple experts from around the world. It's global, and it's got 12 months ongoing support afterwards. I'm a nurse and been trying to find a way to move into menopause care, and these courses sound perfect. Yes, so Caroline, go on to my LinkedIn recommendations and have a read of Michelle. Oh, what's Michelle's last name? Hindle. She's a breast cancer nurse, a Macmillan breast cancer nurse, and she's done a really good story about why she did the program. And have a look at Julie Cosgrove. I think her recommendation was given after she did the champion training, but she's also an ophthalmic nurse, and she did the champion course and the coach course as well. The toolkit, give me a shout about that, because it depends on how many people you've got in your organization. What other questions have we got? Have I missed anything? Increase my dose. Fantastic fun. Okay, right. Hopefully I've answered all the questions. Maria, I will be in touch shortly and make sure we line you up with some good support. Bridget, you asked, is Bridget still on? Yes, Bridget.
Hi, no, sorry, I was getting confused, Lauren.
Okay.
It says in my diary that because I thought I'd booked for the Menopause Champion training,
Yeah.
And then it's got final decision in my diary on the 8th. So I was just a bit confused about that, on July, not June. It just says, yeah, I just want to follow up, because I'm sure I paid to do the course, but then it's got final decision call, menopause coach diploma. And yet I thought I'd put in for the menopause champion and paid for that.
I'll drop you an email with what's in the diary and let you know. Don't worry, that's fine. So it might be two, you might have done both. You might have booked a call to talk about the coach and then also booked on the champion course. So we'll sort that out, don't worry.
Brilliant,
any wrap-up questions? Nope. Good. Okay, right. Time is precious. I have a bunch of other information to share with you tomorrow. Hopefully that wasn't too generic for today. This is the first time I'm running it, so all your feedback is gratefully appreciated. I want to kind of really refine this so that I'm giving you information that's really, really helpful going forward. And I wish you a great afternoon. Bye for now.
Thanks, Lauren. See you soon.